Hello, this is Charlie. This is to get a few things straight about predictions. Now, where people get confused is the predictions with Numerology, there's predictions with Astrology, the position of the planets and that, and there's also predictions from the spiritual world. Now we'll start with the spiritual world. Know a lot more than us what human beings are doing down here and what they're planning, and they try to work with that, and they look at astrology and the position of planets and numerology, and they compare it together. But which is the most powerful? And position of the planets and everything else are more powerful than the spiritual world. The spiritual world have to work with all them systems just like people do down here. They work with them and they put the pieces together a lot faster than what we do. To give you an example, for instance, when it was predicted that the Great Seven, that is to do with numerology and so forth, and the position of the planets and everything else, and that was predicted through that. Whereas when it was predicted, when it says the Great Seven, when the dead will come out of their grave, that was predicted by spirits. You've heard about astrologists that predicted stuff to do with like the Great Seven, and most of them astrologers are actually getting used as well by spirits, and some of them know it and some of them don't. Now the point is if, which it is, the position and astrology and numerology is a lot more powerful than the spiritual world. So can these predictions to do with astrology and all that actually be avoided? Well, it doesn't seem like it ever has been avoided, because the First and Second World War, for one, was predicted through numerology and astrology, and it did happen. But whereas the prediction that was made that there would be a man called Adolf Hitler, now that prediction was from the spiritual world. It was not a prediction to do with astrology. Now, if you get the idea, if the spiritual world work with astrology and numerology, and ever since I've been taken over by spirits, they got me interested in astrology and numerology. And they even got me interested in doing profiles to do with famous people, and numerology and tarot cards, and state the personality of these people. Because this astrology and the position of the planets when everyone's born is just as important as the inflictions of the world. Them inflictions are on people as well. It affects their personality. I mean, I've done a profile of President Bush, and it's amazing how it all comes out. How it picks a good person from a bad person. And I will do a profile on Roy Conroy, who was being mentioned by the spiritual world, not astrology or numerology. But I will do a profile on him, for me and for people out there. So if you're getting whatever the spiritual world say in some of these predictions, it's to avoid a war or upsets or things happening down here. But can they be avoided if astrology is more powerful than them? Well, the thing is, it's never been tried. It really hasn't. I mean, what can people do about it? If these things have to happen because of one thing or another, because of the power of God, or the way the universe is made, or whatever reason it is, I mean, if these things have got to happen, can they be avoided? Well, like I said, it's never been tried, and that's what I'm doing now. And the spiritual world, and talking plain English, that's what I'm here for. And that's why the spiritual world are using me, even though sometimes they don't like it. But the thing is, saying all that, how can it be avoided if it has to happen? If it states in the Bible that these things are going to happen? Well, it can be avoided. It's common sense. If the prediction of Adolf Hitler, which come from the spiritual world, they knew that if that man never got into power, and everything in the spiritual world's power, they tried at that time not to get Adolf Hitler in power. But people around that time, spiritualism and fortune telling and everything else wasn't, well, the gift I've got, there's not many around, put it that way. And they can't talk plain English and messages just like I am doing here. I can hear them like on the telephone. And if other psychics and the mediums say they can hear them, they can't. That is just a bluff coming from the spiritual world. It's a line. Minor facts. But it can be avoided if bad people can be avoided by getting in power. But if things have to happen, this is talking about war, but if things can happen and they have to happen because of the likes of global warming, I mean, is that to do with numerology? Is it to do with the position of the planets? There's loads of questions which even the spiritual world don't know. But some of it could be down to common sense, that it's the technology of man to do with global warming. But do these things have to happen? Or are they happening? Or is it an act of God? I mean, we can go on forever, but we have to try to avoid wars anyway. That is a human thing. And if these people are kept out of power, who the spiritual world who know are good or bad, like Adolf Hitler, I mean, they mentioned this Conroy for a reason. They know more than us when it comes to people down here, and they're well ahead of us. But can these afflictions be stopped to do with astrology and everything? We don't know till we try. It's never been tried. And if people listen to the spiritual world and believed in what was going on instead of contradicting everything, and just listen and be told what to do. If they say don't get them in power, don't do it. I mean, what can you do? What have you got to lose? Eh? If it's going to avoid a war, it's worth following up, isn't it? Even these people that don't believe in life after death and all that, even though their ignorance are from about it, and even though they know something there, these predictions have actually come around. The predictions of Adolf Hitler was from the spiritual world, and if you use your common sense, it has to be, because astrology does not give names. They give numbers out and dates and positions and dates, but they don't give names out. Now that's where the spiritual world and these people that don't believe in it, they should look at what was predicted to do with Adolf Hitler and the First and the Second World War. It was to do with astrology and the spiritual world. They shouldn't be ignorant about it, even people that don't believe in it, or even if they're doing it for money or a career. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, but if we all work together, we don't know till we try, do we? Bye bye for now. Bye bye.